1 week before the wedding, I walked into a Dunkin and saw my fiancée with her lover. He looked me dead in the eye and said she needed a real man. It was 1 week before the wedding. I remember because my phone buzzed that morning with a reminder. Final fitting, 3 p.m. I was supposed to meet Lauren after her yoga class to grab breakfast before heading to the tailor. I stopped by Dunkin early to pick up her usual caramel iced latte and my black coffee. It was routine, mindless, comforting, until it wasn't. When I walked in, the smell of roasted beans hit me first, then the sound of her laugh. I knew it instantly, the soft, breathy laugh she only used when she was flirting. It cut through the noise like a blade. I turned, half smiling already, ready to tease her for showing up early. Then I saw her. Lauren was sitting in the corner booth, back against the wall, leaning forward with her hand on another man's wrist. He wasn't some random stranger either. He had that smug, sculpted look that screamed personal trainer. Tan skin, tight shirt, eyes that moved over her like she belonged to him. My fiancée, the woman I was supposed to marry in 7 days, was sitting there, giggling like a teenager. For a moment, I thought maybe I'd misunderstood. Maybe it was innocent. But then I saw his thumb slide over her fingers. I saw her smile back, that same half-smile she gave me the first night we met. I froze. The paper cup in my hand started to crumple. I must have looked insane standing there by the counter, gripping 2 coffees, watching the life I'd built dissolve into something grotesque. When she finally noticed me, her face drained of color. The guy just looked confused, until he saw the second cup in my hand and the expression on her face. Then he knew exactly who I was. He smirked, like he'd won something. Then, clear as day, loud enough for everyone near the counter to hear, he said, "Guess she needed a real man." Something in me snapped. It wasn't rage. It was instinct, that animal flash when humiliation burns hotter than fear. Before I even processed it, the coffee left my hand, the cup exploding against his chest in a splash of black and caramel. The sound he made, that shocked, stupid gasp, was worth it for half a second. Then chairs scraped, someone yelled, and he lunged. He swung first, sloppy and arrogant. I ducked, caught his wrist, and shoved him back into the booth. The table tipped, knocking into the wall. People screamed. My heart pounded like a drum in my ears. Lauren tried to grab my arm, but I shook her off. She shouted something, maybe my name, maybe a curse. I didn't care. The man tried to swing again, but I hit him this time, hard. The coffee cup in my hand cracked against his face before I even realized I was holding it. He stumbled, bleeding from his nose, hands up, pretending to laugh like he wasn't hurt. Someone shouted they were calling the cops. I could hear the sirens already. Dunkin was near the main road. I stepped back, chest heaving, watching him spit blood onto the tile. Lauren screamed at me, voice breaking, saying I was crazy. That word stuck. Crazy. As if I was the one who walked in on her betrayal. When the police showed up, she ran to them first. She pointed at me, sobbing, saying, "He attacked us." The look they gave me, that silent judgment, burned deeper than any punch. They pulled me aside, cuffed me, read me my rights. I didn't resist. I just stared at her. She couldn't even look back. Outside, the morning was too bright. One of the officers recognized me. He'd coached Little League with my dad years ago. He didn't say much, just muttered, "Tough break, son," before guiding me into the cruiser. Through the tinted window, I saw her hugging that man, his hand on her back, blood dripping from his nose onto her white sweater. They took me downtown, processed me for disorderly conduct, then sat me in a cell for 6 hours before releasing me with a citation. My phone buzzed the whole time. Missed calls from my brother, a couple of texts from Lauren that just said, "We need to talk." I didn't answer. When I got home, the first thing I noticed was the wedding invitation still pinned to the fridge. Gold lettering, soft cream paper. My name next to hers in perfect script. I stared at it until my vision blurred. Later that night, my brother, Luke, showed up with takeout, and that look people get when they don't know what to say. He just sat there eating fries in silence until he finally asked, "You want me to call her?" I told him no. If she wanted to talk, she could come explain it herself. Around midnight, she did. The knock was soft, almost guilty. When I opened the door, she was standing there in the same sweater from the morning, stained faintly with blood near the sleeve. Her mascara had run, her eyes swollen. She looked smaller somehow. She said it wasn't what it looked like. Said he was just a friend. Then she slipped and said his name, Jake, like she'd practiced explaining it. She claimed they'd met at the gym months ago, and that it just got confusing. That they were talking because she was scared of how fast the wedding was coming. Every word felt like static. I just listened, silent. Then she said the one thing that made everything worse. "You embarrassed me." Embarrassed her. Not herself. Not our families. Not the wedding. Her. I laughed, once, dry and hollow, then shut the door in her face. She stood outside for another few seconds, maybe expecting me to open it again. Then I heard her walk away. The next morning, I woke to messages from mutual friends. Someone at Dunkin had filmed the fight. The clip was already on social media. Bride-to-be's fiancé snaps in coffee shop brawl. Hundreds of comments. Half mocking, half sympathetic. My boss called. He said to take the week off, sort things out. By noon, Lauren's mother had texted asking if the wedding was canceled. I didn't reply. That evening, while scrolling through the comments, I saw something that made my stomach turn. A new account had posted the same video but slowed down, captioned, "Local trainer gets attacked by jealous fiancé, hero stays calm." The uploader's name was JakeH_fit. The man had uploaded the fight himself. He was using it for attention. I sat there, staring at the screen, something inside me cooling to stone. He'd taken everything, my dignity, my fiancé, my reputation, and turned it into content. For the first time that week, I felt calm. Completely calm. Because I realized something. Lauren had chosen him, not by accident, but deliberately, to humiliate me, to see how far I'd bend. And I was done bending. I didn't know how yet, but before that wedding day came, they'd both know exactly what it felt like to be humiliated in public. And when it happened, I wouldn't raise a hand. I wouldn't need to. 2 days passed before Lauren showed up again. This time, she came with her mother. They stood in the doorway like a pair of salespeople trying to pitch forgiveness. Her mother spoke first, all soft-voiced concern, saying things like, "You two just need to talk it out," and "Every couple faces pressure before a wedding." Lauren nodded along, eyes wet, face powdered just enough to hide the swelling from all the crying. I didn't invite them in. She told me she'd broken things off with Jake. Claimed it was just a mistake, that the whole coffee shop scene got out of control. She said she panicked, that she'd said things to the cops she didn't mean. I let her talk. Every word felt rehearsed, but I stayed quiet. I wanted to hear the full script. She said she'd come clean to her parents, that they still wanted the wedding to happen, but maybe we should delay it a bit, just until the gossip died down. The arrogance in that sentence almost made me laugh. She wanted to protect her image, not fix what she'd done. Her mother looked at me with that pleading look older women give when they just want peace. "Ethan, she knows she made a mistake. Don't throw away your future over one bad week." My future. That word felt cheap now. I told them I'd think about it. That was all. Then I shut the door. That night, my brother Luke called. He'd been digging around, and he told me something strange. Jake, the real man from Dunkin, wasn't single. He was married, had a wife named Samantha, and a baby less than 6 months old. I almost dropped the phone. Apparently, Samantha had found messages between Jake and Lauren months ago. He'd promised her he'd ended it, but now the video from Dunkin had reached her phone. Luke said she'd contacted him after seeing his name in the article. She wanted to talk. I met Samantha 2 days later at a diner outside town. She looked exhausted, dark circles, wedding ring still on her finger. She slid her phone across the table. Texts between Lauren and Jake filled the screen. It wasn't emotional confusion or a fling. It was an affair. They'd been meeting for nearly a year. Lauren had told him she didn't think I'd ever notice because I was too busy trying to prove myself. Reading those words hit harder than the punch in Dunkin. Samantha wanted to expose Jake publicly but didn't know how. I told her I'd help. Before I could plan anything, though, a letter came in the mail with a court seal. It was a notice for a temporary restraining order, filed by Lauren. The reason? Aggressive behavior, history of violence, and harassment following breakup. I read it 3 times. She'd gone to court, told a judge I'd threatened her, that she feared for her safety. The woman who came crying to my doorstep begging for another chance had also been filing paperwork to make sure I couldn't even text her. It was a new kind of betrayal, quiet, procedural, permanent. I took the document to my lawyer, who nearly laughed when he saw the date. She'd filed it the same day. She came to my apartment pretending to make peace. He said, "She's trying to rewrite the story before the wedding. She wants to be the victim on paper." He advised me to stay calm, stay silent. Let her play her game. But silence didn't mean inaction. Luke's journalist instincts kicked in. He started contacting mutual acquaintances, people from Lauren's gym, her bridesmaids. One of them, a woman named Jess, told him something unbelievable. Lauren had been bragging that she was done with Ethan but still wanted to use the wedding deposit because it was non-refundable. She wanted to go on the honeymoon trip with Jake. That was the moment something inside me flipped completely. The fight in Dunkin was humiliation. The restraining order was strategy. But this was greed, pure, open, and cold. I didn't confront her right away. I waited. I wanted to know how far she'd go if she thought I was out of the picture. Samantha texted me updates from her end. Jake had promised her closure and then stopped answering her calls. She'd found messages between him and Lauren talking about leaving this town for good. They were planning to vanish together once the scandal cooled down. They underestimated how small this town was. Everyone knew everyone. The first twist came one morning when I got a call from a friend who worked at the courthouse. He told me the restraining order had been rejected. The judge saw through it. Apparently, Lauren's statements didn't line up with the police report from Dunkin. The footage showed Jake lunging first, not me. The judge threw it out, calling it mutual public altercation. For the first time since that coffee shop, the narrative started to shift. Lauren didn't take it well. She sent a long email accusing me of manipulating the system, claiming I'd turned people against her. I didn't respond. The second twist came from Samantha. She'd confronted Jake at his gym, loudly. He tried to calm her down, but the confrontation was filmed by a client. She screamed his full name, accused him of cheating with Lauren, and mentioned me by name. The clip went viral in our town. By evening, Jake's gym had suspended him pending investigation. His reputation, the macho real man act, was in ashes. The third twist hit the next day. A local gossip blog picked up the video and linked it to the Dunkin fight, calling it the coffee shop affair. They printed Lauren's name. Her employer saw it. By that weekend, she was put on leave for conduct unbecoming of a representative. Her family tried to do damage control, but the story had already spread. She showed up at my place again. This time alone, no makeup, no mother, no excuses. She said she never meant for it to go this far. She said she'd lost everything. I watched her standing there, the same porch where she once told me she couldn't wait to start a family. Now she looked like a stranger caught in her own lie. She said Jake had left town. She didn't know where he went. She begged me not to ruin her any further. That phrase made me realize something. She still didn't understand that she'd done this to herself. I told her there was nothing left to ruin. Then I closed the door again. That night, I got a message from Samantha. She'd filed for divorce. Her lawyer asked if I'd testify that Jake and Lauren's affair had started months before the Dunkin fight. I agreed. It wasn't revenge anymore. It was cleanup. Lauren's perfect world, the one she built out of appearances and manipulation, was crumbling piece by piece. And she still had no idea that one more reckoning was coming. Because her family had invited me to brunch, a peace gathering. They said she wanted to apologize in front of everyone and make things right. I agreed to go, but not for reconciliation. I wanted them all to hear the truth from someone other than her. And I had the perfect guest in mind to help tell it. The brunch was set for Sunday at 11, in a small restaurant downtown that Lauren's family used for birthdays and anniversaries. I arrived early. The place smelled like syrup and overbrewed coffee, the kind of family spot that tried to feel cheerful no matter what was happening outside. I wore a plain gray shirt, nothing fancy, nothing angry. I wanted to look calm. Lauren's parents were already there. Her father gave me that tight, polite nod reserved for people you once respected but don't anymore. Her mother tried to smile, like she was forcing the memory of who I used to be into her face. Lauren arrived 10 minutes late, sunglasses on, a faint tremor in her hands. Her hair looked unwashed, her voice smaller. We sat. The conversation started stiff. Her mother spoke about healing, her father about perspective. Then Lauren cleared her throat and said she wanted to make a statement. She'd written it down on her phone. She started talking about how rumors can destroy lives and how one mistake shouldn't define a person. She said she'd forgiven me for what happened in Dunkin, like I was the one who'd done something wrong. She said she wanted everyone to move forward, to find peace. I didn't interrupt. I let her finish. She looked at me afterward like she'd just performed an act of sainthood. Then I asked calmly, "Is that all you wanted to say?" She hesitated. "Yes. I think we've both suffered enough." "Good," I said, because someone else wanted to say a few words too. Every head turned when the door opened. Samantha walked in. She looked composed, almost serene in her plain black dress, though her eyes carried the kind of exhaustion only betrayal can carve. She walked straight to the table, placed her phone face down, and looked at Lauren. Lauren froze. Her mother glanced between them. "Excuse me, who is?" Samantha cut her off. "The wife of the man your daughter was sleeping with." The silence that followed was the kind that presses against your eardrums. Forks stopped. Conversations at other tables died. Lauren went pale. Her lips parted, but no sound came. Samantha turned the phone over and played a voice memo. Jake's voice filled the room. Smooth, arrogant, unmistakable. "Yeah," she said, "the wedding's off anyway. Her fiancé's a psycho. We'll use the honeymoon ticket. Her parents already paid for it." Her father's face stiffened, the kind of look that erases years of affection in seconds. Samantha continued. She told them how Lauren had met Jake at the gym, how the affair started months before the engagement, how they planned to skip town after using the wedding deposits. She handed over printouts of texts with dates and photos of them together. Lauren tried to deny it at first, mumbling something about deep fakes and edited screenshots, but it didn't matter. Samantha wasn't alone. Luke walked in next, carrying a folder. He laid it on the table. Copies of the police report, the restraining order attempt, the emails between Lauren and Jake planning their getaway. He said quietly, "Your daughter didn't just cheat. She tried to bury my brother legally." Lauren's father pushed his chair back. His face was red now, his hands shaking. "Lauren, tell me this isn't true." She didn't answer. Her fingers kept tapping the screen of her phone, like she was trying to summon a reality where this wasn't happening. Her mother whispered, "Oh my God." The restaurant manager came over, unsure if he should intervene. Half the room was watching now. Phones were out. Someone was recording. Lauren stood up suddenly, shouting that it was all an ambush. She pointed at me, yelling that I set her up, that I wasn't over it. She looked wild, desperate, words spilling out without order. "Samantha just said, you ruined my family. I'm just returning the favor." Then she walked out. Lauren's father followed, calling her name. Her mother sat still, staring at the table. I didn't move. When Lauren turned to me, there was nothing left of the girl I'd loved, just a cornered animal trying to survive the moment. "Are you happy now?" she hissed. "No," I said quietly. "Just finished." Then I left. Outside, the sunlight hit hard. Luke caught up with me in the parking lot, half smiling, half stunned. "You realize that video's already online, right?" I did. By evening, clips of the brunch confrontation were circulating under the same hashtag the Dunkin fight once used. People compared the two events. First I'd been the villain, now the truth was out. The narrative flipped almost overnight. Messages started flooding in, from coworkers, old classmates, even people I barely knew. "Sorry for believing her," some said. Others just sent the link with a single word, "damn." Lauren, meanwhile, went dark. Her social media vanished. Mutual friends said she'd been fired from her job after the HR department saw the video. Her father cut contact completely. Her mother called me once, crying, saying she never imagined her daughter could sink this low. The next day, Samantha emailed me a thank you. She said she'd filed for divorce and sent the evidence package to her lawyer. She told me she hoped I'd move on, that she was planning to move away with her baby. I believed her. For the first time in months, I slept without waking up in anger. Still, some things lingered. The memory of that morning at Dunkin, the moment when Jake said those words, "She needed a real man." The look on his face right before I hit him, that stayed with me. Not as rage anymore, but as a scar I could point to when I needed to remember who not to trust. By midweek, the local gossip blogs were calling it the wedding that never was. I didn't correct them. Let them build their headlines. Lauren tried calling once, using a new number. I didn't answer. Then she sent an email, 3 paragraphs of self-pity about how she'd lost everything, and how I should be satisfied now. I deleted it without reading the rest. The irony was, I wasn't satisfied. There was no thrill in her downfall, just quiet relief that I wasn't part of her story anymore. But the world wasn't finished with her yet. A week later, I got a call from Luke. "You're not going to believe this," he said. Lauren had tried to sue Samantha for defamation, claiming the brunch confrontation ruined her reputation. The judge dismissed it immediately, citing evidence of the affair. The footage was played in court. The same video that showed Lauren calling Jake my real man while he laughed. It went viral again. The internet doesn't forget. By the end of the month, Lauren was unofficially known online as the Dunkin bride. Every time someone mentioned her name, people commented with coffee cup emojis and lines like, "She needed a real man and a lawyer." Cruel, yes, but she'd built that image herself. I never shared anything. Never commented, never gloated. I let it fade naturally, the way old fire dies when there's no more oxygen. Still, there was one thing left unfinished. One last quiet moment I needed to have to close it all. So the next morning, I drove back to that same Dunkin. The same place where it had all started. Same corner booth, same smell of sugar and espresso. I ordered my black coffee, no cream, no sugar, and sat down. For the first time, it didn't taste bitter. When I looked up at the menu board, I noticed they'd installed a new camera above the counter. A tiny reminder of what happened there months ago. I almost laughed. Everything had come full circle, but the story wasn't finished yet. Because that afternoon, I got a letter, an actual envelope, not an email. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting. Lauren had found me again, and this time, she wasn't asking for forgiveness. She was demanding it. The letter arrived on a Wednesday. It was thick, handwritten, folded twice and sealed with shaky tape, as if she couldn't afford an envelope that day. The handwriting was familiar, the same cursive loops I'd once thought were elegant. Now they looked desperate. Inside were 6 pages. The first was an apology, if you could call it that. Long sentences full of self-pity and blame disguised as sorrow. She wrote that she'd lost her sense of self, that everything spiraled too fast, and that she didn't mean to destroy my life. The next few paragraphs turned sour. She accused me of humiliating her, said I'd orchestrated the public exposure, that I'd let strangers ruin her name. The final page asked me to meet her. She wrote, "You have no idea what I'm going through. You owe me at least a conversation." I didn't know her anything. Still, I went. Not because I cared, because I needed to see what she'd become. She chose a coffee shop halfway between my apartment and hers. Not Dunkin. Some place with brick walls and overpriced muffins. When I walked in, she was already there, sitting by the window, wearing sunglasses indoors. Her once blonde hair had grown out, showing brown roots. Her nails were bitten down, her hands shaking when she lifted her cup. I sat down across from her. She looked at me for a long time before saying, "I don't even know who you are anymore." I didn't answer. I wanted her to keep talking, to fill the silence. She said she'd been fired from her firm a week after the brunch. The official reason was reputational damage, but she blamed me. Said I'd turned everyone against her. Jake, she said, had vanished completely. He'd blocked her number, deleted his accounts, probably fled the state. She didn't know where he was. "Do you still love him?" I asked quietly. She flinched. "It doesn't matter. He ruined me, and so did you." That's when I realized she wasn't apologizing. She was bargaining. She thought if she could make me feel guilty enough, I'd help her rebuild. Maybe even take her back. "You know what's funny?" I said. "You told the cops you were scared of me, but I've never raised my voice to you. Not once." She looked away. I panicked. Everyone was watching. "You humiliated me." I leaned forward. "You humiliated yourself." She froze. The mask slipped for a second, and I saw what was really there. Not regret, not love, just the bitter pride of someone who couldn't accept consequences. "I have nothing left," she said softly. "My parents won't speak to me. My landlord's evicting me next month. I can't find work. Nobody will hire me after that video. I'm begging you. Please, help me get back on my feet." I stared at her for a long moment, then stood up, dropped a 20 on the table, and said, "You're standing already." Then I left. Outside, the air smelled clean. I hadn't realized how heavy she'd made everything until I walked away. But her collapse didn't stop there. A week later, Luke sent me a link. A new thread on Reddit, titled "The Dunkin Bride Speaks Out." It was her, Lauren, writing a long post trying to set the record straight. She painted herself as the victim of a vindictive ex and a manipulative journalist brother. She claimed I'd planted the video leaks. People didn't buy it. The comments were brutal. They dug up everything. The court records, the restraining order attempt, the brunch footage. Within hours, the post was locked, then deleted. She tried to rewrite the story again, and again it burned her. After that, she went quiet for months. No calls, no emails, nothing. Life settled back into something resembling normal. I started a new job, moved to another city. The Dunkin mess became just a strange story people whispered about at parties when they realized they'd read it online. Then, one morning, I was walking to work when I saw her again. It was early, cold, the streets still half empty. I stopped at a Dunkin, not the same one, but the same smell, the same dull orange glow. She was there, standing outside near the trash bins, handing out flyers for a cleaning service. I almost didn't recognize her at first. She'd lost weight, her hair dull and uneven. Her eyes darted like she didn't want anyone to see her. When she noticed me, her face froze. For a second, I thought she'd run, but she didn't. She walked over slowly, like someone wading into cold water. "Ethan," she said quietly. "Lauren." Neither of us spoke after that. She looked down at the ground, then at the coffee cup in my hand. "I still can't go near one of those without thinking of you." "Good," I said. Her lips trembled, but no tears came. She just nodded once, turned around, and walked back to the trash bins. I watched her go. There was no satisfaction in it. No cinematic revenge, no triumphant closure. Just the stillness of reality. Actions, consequences. Choices, collapse. Later that day, I called Samantha. We hadn't spoken in months. I told her I'd seen Lauren. She sighed, said she'd heard through a mutual contact that Lauren had been living out of her car for a while before finding that flyer job. Then she said something that stuck with me. People like her always think humiliation is temporary. It isn't. It's an echo. That night, I drove past the Dunkin near my new apartment. The lights were still on, customers laughing inside. I parked, sat for a minute, then went in. I ordered a black coffee. Same as before. The barista handed it over with a smile that didn't mean anything. When I walked back outside, I noticed something. Across the street, taped to a lamppost, was one of Lauren's flyers. Reliable cleaning services, fast, affordable, discreet. Her phone number underneath, written in shaky pen. I took one down. Not to keep it, just to throw it away. As I dropped it into the trash, I realized that was the end. Not dramatic, not loud, just final. Months later, when Luke visited, He joked that I should write a book about it. The Dunkin Fiancée, he said. I laughed, but the truth was, I'd already written it, just not on paper. The story was in the silence. And every morning I woke up and didn't think about her anymore. The last time I ever saw Lauren was 6 months after that. I was on my way to work, coffee in hand, when I passed another Dunkin. She was sitting alone at an outdoor table, staring at nothing, her clothes cleaner, but her eyes hollow. She didn't notice me. I didn't stop. Life had moved on, finally. Not by forgetting her, but by outlasting her chaos. When I think about that morning now, the first one, the coffee shop, the man, the line about a real man, it almost feels like a movie someone else lived through. But every now and then, when I walk into a Dunkin and hear the hiss of coffee machines, I remember that one line she threw at me later, the one she thought would make me feel guilty. You humiliated me. She was wrong. She humiliated herself. And the world just happened to be watching. I sip my coffee, nod once to no one, and walk out. The door closes behind me, the bell ringing softly, like a final period on a story that started with caffeine and ended with silence.